Welcome to Enlightened Evolution.
I'm Kay.
And I'm Christina.
We're here to discuss the ebb and flow of our soul's healing and transformation through self-reflection, choosing intentionally, honoring thyself, and following your inner guide.
Thank you for joining this safe space with us. Hello, and welcome to Enlightened Evolution with Kay and Christina. Thank you for joining us this week. We hope you are doing awesome. This week, we are talking about burnout. It's a very hot topic. I remember hearing about it when I was younger, starting out in my career, and I was like, I don't think that'll be me. It's been me. Let me give y'all a quick definition of what burnout is. So, burnout is a state of emotional, physical, mental exhaustion. It can be caused by prolonged or excessive stress. It occurs when we feel overwhelmed or unable to meet constant demands. It leads to a decline in our personal and professional performance. Burnout is often associated with work type situations, but it can be in your relationships. It could be with, being a parent, all types of aspects of life. Being a caregiver, maybe you care for, an older adult in your life. I've seen a lot of burnout from that as well. You and I were kind of talking about not necessarily burnout, but work before we jumped on. Do you think you've ever experienced burnout?
Girl, yeah, every day.
Okay. Same.
Especially when there's multiple areas of my life that become increasingly overwhelming at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Working bedside and nursing. Anybody that's been a nurse for a few years understands. For the first year, I didn't really feel it. And now it's like, ugh, to even some days are really good. I won't like it's some days are really good. But other days it's like, you know, people at work indulge in petty drama. So it's not just patient care that's overwhelming. It's the relationships with your coworkers and the personality conflicts. I think I hired in during COVID and we were very short staffed and we had like way more patients than we were supposed to. So we had to work together or we didn't survive. And we didn't have the time to have all this drama. And now that we're fully staffed, I feel like there's a lot more problems.
Mhm.
We're in the middle of like negotiating a contract right now. So the hospital, just the things that they throw at us that they think we're going to accept, it makes us
Except
feel really like our dedication is unappreciated. So
Oh, yeah. And they throw things out there that are ridiculous, and I
mhm.
know a lot of times they do it just to get something less than that, but for them to even say the things that they say, it makes you feel so devalued, like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, I think they mentioned, "Oh, we'll continue with your medical, but we're going to take away the vision and the dental care." Okay. That was a
First of
no.
all, why is vision and dental even separate? But that's a whole different conversation.
True. So, like whatever. Absolutely not. We're going to be striking. It's like having to run to other floors and get the supplies that we need. I work day shifts, so dealing with families, it's usually not the patients that are difficult to deal with. It's usually their overbearing families or the entitlement or constantly literally following you around the unit for just make a list.
Make a list. I'll be back in 1 hour.
Yeah, and it's all these things that add up. Personally, for me in nursing, this is what causes me burnout. I don't know what other people experience in other like professions, but it is real. It's like the new residents when they come in, you have to be hyper vigilant and really be you have to be very mindful and thorough with the orders that they give you because they give you orders that could literally kill somebody because they're new doctors. And so it's not just double checking your own work. You have to double check the doctor's work from the orders you take from. So that's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
There is some patients that really like I feel like that. like, the patients that give you kinda, like, the bad attitudes or whatever, it does feel kinda shitty to be unappreciated by them, but they're going through, like, a super hard time in their life, like, they're in the hospital, they don't feel good, so I usually just let that slide.
Mhm.
But it's just being there for those 12 hours, being completely overstimulated by phones and dings and people and call lights and personalities and orders and codes, and it's like, then I have to go home, and now I have to be a mom, and I've poured all my energy out throughout the day. I can't even find, like, the energy to take care of myself, like, when I get home, and then I gotta take care of 2 kids, so the work burnout definitely flows into, like, parent burnout
Oh,
on
yeah.
top of that.
Absolutely, and then, like, you're a single mom, so there is no partner there to help you. There's no one else to
Mhm.
pick up the slack when you've had a bad day. And but there's people I know that, do have a partner, and their partner still doesn't help them out, and they're working 2, 3 jobs as a nurse, and their partner has 0 jobs, and their partner's taking care of the kids, but when they get home, they gotta pick right up and be mommy. That would throw me over the edge.
Yeah, I do have a girlfriend at work, and she's got kids, and she works 12s, and she's the breadwinner, and then she comes home. So you're paying all the bills. You work all day, not all the bills, like he works, and then your children are young, and so you have to worry about feeding your children and your husband when you get home after you've worked all day. Like, absolutely not. I would rather be alone. If you can't provide,
Mhm.
like, something bare minimum and have just dinner ready.
Right. Throw some Kraft mac and cheese and some hot dogs on a plate. Let's go. Add a little
Seri
fruit cup.
seriously. So it's just it's I don't it is. It's it's
It's a
overwhelming
lot.
at times.
Yeah. And in my career, I've experienced burnout at different periods. I think,
Mhm.
it ebbs and flows. We get these buildups of stressful times, and then they do get better. And that's
Yeah.
important to remember. I have some list of different symptoms that you might be experiencing if you want to do a checklist of, am I burnt out? I will say, so I have them split by emotional, physical, and behavioral. The emotional ones, all of them. Chronic fatigue, just being tired all the time. You never feel like you can get enough energy. This one is big, cynicism and detachment. That's when we
Mm.
start talking our shit.
I started out this episode with doing exactly that, and then
Well,
later I'll
yeah.
just cry.
I mean, we do this with our coworkers. We really band together because typically we're all burnout. If one of us is burnout,
Mhm.
a lot of us are
Yeah.
burnout. And it's about the environment that we're in. So we talk our shit to each other. I can't believe they're doing this. I can't believe this is happening. All these things that I do that.
Oh,
Decreased
yeah.
motivation. You're no longer motivated to perform high because what's the point?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
That one has been huge for me in my current phase of burnout is one, I've noticed that I outperform a lot of my colleagues. And there's no reward for that. I'm not getting paid anymore. I just get more work. That's the
Yeah.
reward for that.
Yeah.
So there's no motivation to do more. And then when I do more, the leadership, the not the correct leadership is in place. And so they make funky moves or what hey, I need this. I get it to them right away. Oh, actually, you know what? We're going to take a whole different direction. Well, fuck that.
Mhm.
Why did I spend all my time doing this? And now, oh, actually, we're not going to do that anymore.
Mhm.
So, not motivated to perform high, which also is feelings of ineffectiveness. You feel like what you're doing is just not meeting what's expected of you. Increased irritability.
Yes, I feel
Yeah,
that daily. It's just
for
like
sure.
and it's like things that wouldn't normally when I don't have that burnout feeling, I'll be good and just be able to brush things off. And it's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, why did that just make me way more angry than what I needed to be made?" And then later on, you're, like, hard on yourself and you feel so bad for how your reaction is. So, it's the burnout on top of just being really hard on yourself and feeling inadequate in your performance and then inadequate in your interactions with people during that time, like,
Oh,
where
yeah.
you feel exhausted.
Oh, yeah. Some physical symptoms. Some people might experience frequent illnesses. Thank goodness that's not me. Sleep disturbances. When I am in a high stress time at work, I will lose sleep over it. I hate it,
Mhm.
but I do. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking of all the things I need to do the next day,
Yeah.
project deadlines, all those things. When I used to be bedside, I would wake up in the middle of the night and remember, like, oh, I forgot to chart something, like something stupid.
Yeah.
Like, that's irrelevant, but it would just wake me up like, "Oh,
Mhm.
you didn't chart that bowel movement." Some people might experience headaches and muscle tension. I definitely experience this during high
Same.
burnouts. I'll get more migraines, and I'll also get where, like, my neck will freeze up and I can't turn.
Yeah, my neck and my shoulders is where I take it to. Mhm.
And then some people experience some changes in appetite or weight. I can't say that I've noticed that I've had that from burnout. I've had that from anxiety, but not necessarily burnout.
Burnout for me, depression comes along with it, and
Yeah.
I lack appetite when I feel that way. So I don't nourish myself the way that I should, which leads me to getting sick, and then
Mm.
I can
It's
usually
kinda
pull
like a
myself out of
snowball.
it. Is I feel like those feel like that whole process, the whole cycle lasts about a month, and I'm like, "Okay, fuck this, like, I'm gotta pull out of it. I can't let, like, the world get to me." And it's like, "God damn, though, we're human, and it's overwhelming, and it's exhausting, and it's never ending." It's like, "Oh, I need a break. Okay, I'm gonna go on vacation. Okay, well, it's work to go on vacation." So you feel like you need a break after you come back from vacation, but really you gotta go back to work. And so
Mhm.
then, okay, I worked multiple days, and now I get like 4 or 5 days off depending on how I do my schedule, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna rest during these days, but I also need to socialize. I also need to go do something fun with my kids. I also need to clean." So, it's never really just having days in a row where you can decompress and there's no responsibility. It's always, like, something going on, and I know it's good to stay busy, but
It's
someti
also good to
it
rest.
is really good to rest, and I don't think I let myself rest enough. I feel
Mhm.
guilty for
Yeah, I hear it
resting.
in you all the time. Yeah, you'll tell me. You'll be like, "Oh, I wasted the day. I just rested, and I really need to be doing this, this, and this." And I'm always like, "You need to rest. Your
Yeah, I
body's
know.
telling you you need to rest."
I know. I do. You've
But
gotten
it's
better
hard.
about that. Your little Miss Perfectionism self. I feel like you, like, honor your body and you've allowed yourself to, like, sit back and take your time and take your days and
Yeah, I have. And now I feel like I've gone too far the other way where I rest a lot and I'm like, "Okay, I wanna be more active. I wanna do more things." So I'm
Mhm.
I'm working on finding that balance because
Yeah.
it is in my nature to just go balls to the wall and do
Mhm.
everything and be everything for everyone, and then I lose myself.
Mhm.
So I work on that balance. I think I'm getting better at it.
Yeah. I think more in, like, relationships or, like, a family dynamic, I try to, like, obviously, my kids should be doing more chores than they do, but it's like, "Okay, you're probably not gonna clean the kitchen how I want you to anyways, and just go play," or so, like, I'll pick up everybody else's responsibilities and
Mhm.
just do it myself, you know what I mean? And that's not always fair to me or them either, because then, like, resentment starts to build and you feel like you're doing everything.
Absolutely. And so it's like finding, but like you said, there's some things that I know I'm going to want it done how I like it done. So
Mhm.
I need to do those things. And I need
Yeah.
to recognize that I can't be mad at anyone else for not doing those because I'm a weirdo and I like things very particularly.
Oh, yeah, I do too.
But I need to identify things that I can let other people help me with.
Mhm.
And I see this all the time at work, because I'm on the administrative side of nursing. And I see people, and I've done this before. And even as a bedside nurse, the last thing we learn is delegation. That's the last thing we want to do. Although you've told me you're good at doing it, is tell people, hey, I need you to do this. This is within your scope. I need you to do this, which I love your approach to it. But I do see people that they just take it all on. Like, hey, can you do this project? Can you do this? Yes, yes, yes. And they don't stop and say, my bucket is overfull and
Mhm.
I can't manage this. And then they perform poorly because they've said yes to all these different things
Yeah.
that they don't have the bandwidth. They cannot possibly do all of those things. So it takes a lot of self reflection. And a lot of what I've read about burnout is us taking on too much and not setting boundaries. But there are burnout from things that are outside of our control, like not being in the right environment to be able to do well. That's something I've experienced with having like ineffective leaders.
Mhm.
And before I get into that part, I do want to just touch on the behavioral symptoms of burnout. So, reduced performance, we've kind of talked about that. You might have a decline in, you might just shut down because you're like, it's too much. I can't do it all. I'm just going to shut down. You may also withdraw, which kind of goes together, withdraw from your responsibilities. For work, you might have increased absenteeism. I remember when I was a CNA and I was working at a nursing home and I absolutely hated it. It was horrible. And I called out all the time because I
Mhm.
hated it. So I ended up quitting that job because I was like, I can't keep calling out. I can't do this anymore. And then sometimes it can also lead to an increased use of substances. We might use substances, not only alcohol and drugs, but also caffeine and other stimulants to cope or stay awake or try to keep up with the stress.
Mhm.
I've seen some people that I've been like, they gotta be on something because I know just the outside of what their workload is, and it's tremendous. And they're just like bouncing all over, zipping. I'm like, that's you're middle aged. Ain't no way that that energy is natural.
My girlfriend at work wore a shirt the other day that said "Fueled off anxiety and caffeine." It's like, that is
Anxiety will
accurate,
do a lot for you.
and I don't even think it was we talked about yeah. We talked about, like, what attire to wear to work as a nurse, but that was just a normal T-shirt.
Ugh, ugh. We got bigger things to worry about than a t-shirt that you're wearing to work.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Mhm.
So, what are some ways that we can kind of prevent burnout or kind of get back into a homeostasis?
I think first you have to acknowledge it and just say, "What I'm doing now is not working for me, it's going to kill me." So, it's okay to call in sometimes, and it's okay to just tell people, "Hey, this is what I'm experiencing." I think the people that you're surrounded by that love you and care about you, as they should, like, you have to tell them, "I'm becoming really overwhelmed. I just need like, when I get out of work, I need to drive home in silence," or, "Can you please just have dinner for me on the days that I work if you're not working?" If you can do that, you have to ask for help because we do take on too much. And then
We do.
some things at work you can't control, and that's tricky too because it's like, well, I'm choosing to let it bother me, and that nothing is in my control. And so when you go in there, like, feel like we get so burnt out because we care so much. So when you're going to your workplace and you know that you're showing up and doing your absolute best, that's all that you can do. And if you don't have the
Mhm.
resources that you need to do a better job and you voice your opinion, that's all you can do.
Yeah. You got to realize what your limits are and
Mhm.
let that be enough.
Yeah.
Setting clear boundaries, like kind of mentioned, if people are asking you to take on more, asking you to work more shifts or whatever it might be, feel free saying no. Say, I don't have the
Mhm.
bandwidth for that right now. Thank you for considering me.
Mhm. Yeah,
We talked
absolutely.
about living a healthier lifestyle. So if you do start to notice that you're in this cycle of burnout, maybe being proactive and like at least packing your lunches ahead and your meals ahead so that you know you're going to have a nutritious meal and you're not scrambling. I remember so many times when I was working 12-hour shifts and I would like think I was going to be able to go to the cafeteria and get food for lunch. And
Mhm.
then my shift would just be absolute shit. And I'm in the nutrition room sucking down an orange juice and eating crackers
Yep.
and running to my next patient.
Chex Mix was sprinkled with some sugar, baby, my specialty.
That's your go-to?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I like to mix together I cracked the code. Verner's
Tell me.
mixed with
Mhm.
cranberry juice
Ooh,
or
okay.
ginger
I
ale
think
for those who don't know
Seagram's
who. Yeah.
I don't fuck with, Seagram's, I only fuck with Verner's, but think Seagram's sells a
Mhm.
cran ginger ale or something.
Really? I had no idea.
Mhm.
Well, they downgraded us to Schweppes now, so it's even less desirable, but
Oh,
throw some cranberry
no.
juice in there and it's a sweet little treat.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, we gotta do what we gotta do to keep on going, but yeah, I wish so many times that I would have packed myself a nutritious lunch and take your breaks. I had this older nurse come to me and say that she was upset because these new nurses just think they're entitled to have a break. And I said, well, legally they are. So you need to find a way for your staff to have a break.
Yeah.
She's like, well, we're busy and we got too much going on. You still need to find a way for your staff to have a break because if you can't nourish yourself, there's no way you can continue on and take care of your patients.
Mhm.
You can't be expected to go through a 12-hour shift and not nourish yourself.
Yeah, that's wild. I'm so glad we haven't experienced that. We've been told, like, take your breaks, take your breaks. You have to refuel.
Good.
Studies have been done that show that if you take your breaks and refuel, you'll be much more successful in completing all your tasks and doing it
Absolutely.
feeling replenished. I think people that are caregivers at home, I know we touched on it earlier, but it's very important for people to get that respite care when you have to be a full time caretaker, whether it's like a disabled child or an elderly parent or loved one that you want them to stay at home and you don't want to necessarily put them in a nursing home or like a group home. There's a lot of burnout with that. You become
Oh, yeah.
isolated just sitting there with that person that you're taking care of all day, especially if the relationship is not the greatest between you two to begin with and you just feel obligated like you have to take care of your mom or something. Yeah, it's and then there's that grief when they lose that person, like, "Who am I now? My
Yeah.
identity has been taking care of this person for years, and now I don't even know how to proceed with life. Like, what are my interests? What do
What
I
are my
find joy Yeah, what
interests?
do I find joy
Right.
in? I don't have to."
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like your whole
And
schedule is
there's lots of resources out there too for
Mhm.
respite care for caregivers. So definitely look into that in your areas.
Yeah.
I know like hospice specifically will have respite care, but there's also some for like disabled adults and
Mhm.
geriatrics and things like that. There's like I remember over by McLaren there was a adult daycare.
Mhm.
Um I, s- I don't know if I was looking to work there or something at one time.
That was one of my very first jobs was working in a group home,
Oh
and they
wow.
went to, like, the day program, every day. And it was almost like our own little respite care because then we came back and got everything in order for them, and then they had to come back home, but it's a lot. That job was
It
very
is.
short-lived. It is a lot to have to care for any adults for an extended period of time with minimal resources.
Oh, yeah. And, like, it is very much different than caring for children, especially if that adult is someone that physically depends on you. You're having to lift them and get them into different devices, or you're changing diapers and things.
Mhm.
So not only is it emotionally, but it's physically taxing on you as well.
Oh, yeah. Kids too.
Uh-oh, you cut out. I think you just turned your mic off.
My bad.
You're back.
Yeah, parenthood, especially, like, I got a preteen daughter and a teenage son, it's like the guilt when I lose my cool or I don't have the energy, it's like a lot of times after I leave work, it's like, "Okay, what do you guys want for dinner? Because we're about to get some double cheeseburgers." And then it's dealing with your kids and their emotions, and if they're sad about their school day or they're feeling bullied, and then the effects of social media that it has on them, and trying to navigate through that, and just dealing with their unsafe choices, and having to save them from themselves is
Mm.
such a difficult, like, place to be in all the time, and the drama they think, like, everything's do you remember being a kid and, like, everything is just dramatized? It's like
Oh, everything was so important and so, like,
yeah. Everybody
end
how
of the
they
world.
yeah, how they felt, "Oh, this person said this about me, and I can't," like, and now they're who cares if he called you ugly? Like,
I know.
who
But it's
cares?
at that age, it's so hard to see
I
outside
know it
of
is.
it.
It is, and so I just ugh, I feel for him because everything is just much more intensified, amplified than it is, like, and, they're kids, so you can't like, telling them, "Oh, when you get older, you won't even care about this." Like, well, they do now, so that doesn't help, so it's
I know.
really
I remember my mom would say that all the time. "Oh, you
yeah,
won't
mine
care
too.
about this in 5, 10 years." And I'd be
Yeah.
like, "But I care about it now, and it's so
Yeah.
important, and it's
Yeah.
the end of the world."
Mhm. It is yeah, it's so hard sometimes. Just gotta love them
Mhm.
through it.
Some other ways to kinda get out of burnout might be, finding some relaxation techniques. We talk about mindfulness and meditation all the time. That seems to be the answer to everything,
I swear, girl,
honestly.
it is. I don't know why we don't listen.
Right. Um, Also building connections and, like, building a support person, knowing the people you can go to when you are stressed out and, like, who can I rely on? Who
Mhm.
will help me? Obviously, finding that balance of not, like, always asking, you know, I don't wanna say being a burden to others, but finding a balance, because 'cause I've seen it go both ways, where people
Mhm.
just dump everything on someone else.
Yeah.
It might be a good time to seek professional help. I know when I started experiencing burnout, I went to my therapist about it and was like, "Look, I'm considering a different career path because I hate it here."
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes that may be the answer. It may be maybe not just a different career path, maybe a different area within your company. But if you really feel that your company's values do not align with the life you wanna live, then maybe you do look somewhere else.
Mhm. Yes.
It may be an internal thing of, like, finding ways to become, to be better with time management.
That's a big
So
one.
it's always worth yeah, it's always worth looking at.
I try to preparing myself, I've gotten really good about that because 'cause I'll do 4 12s in a row, 3, 4 12s in a row. I like to get it done and over with. I always pack my lunches the day before. I always make sure I have more than enough. It's all healthy. If I don't have time to eat, I make sure I have, like, a Premier protein drink in there just for something extra. I try to drink enough water, in bed before 10. Like, I really try to prepare for those days because you really don't know what kinda day you're gonna have. It's a surprise every day. Every day is different.
And that's what I feel is so stressful about bedside nursing. Like, my job, I know I'm gonna go in, I know what my meetings are, I know if I'm teaching, like, I know what to expect. Maybe someone will throw a curveball and ask for an unexpected project or something.
Mhm.
Bedside nursing, even if you get assigned the same patients you had the day before, could be a whole different day. And you just never know what's gonna happen. And so it's kind of like that fight or flight going into your
Yeah.
shift sometimes of like, what am I going to encounter today?
Yeah. Yeah, you have no idea. Am I gonna get punched in my face today?
Right.
Which is
Yeah. For just
real.
trying to do my job.
Mhm.
Oh, so real.
We've had a lot of, like, patients with psych history lately, and they've been really, like, assaulting us lately.
Oh my gosh.
It's been something else. So, I feel like nursing in general just kinda microdoses PTSD to you.
Oh, certainly.
Mhm.
And I've noticed a lot of people that go into nursing have some sort of prior traumas before going into it.
Mhm.
W- There's certain people that are attuned for it.
Yeah. It's so straight. Well, I feel bad for my kids sometimes because, like, I don't know. My son got like like literally a glass sliver in his foot the other day, right? Like it was so tiny, girl.
Ouch. Yeah.
And he's like whining. I'm like, just come here, let me pull it out. It's like I'm like this like I'm so desensitized to like their little cups, cuts and scrapes and bruises. It's like this ain't nothing. Like quit whining. Like you
But yeah, that's a golden thing for nurses. Like, I remember being a kid and I went through a glass window and, like, I have scars from it still and a huge
Mhm.
gash. And my mom's like, "Oh, no, you're fine. We're just gonna put some Band-Aids on here." I think she might have had some steri strips. She's like, "We're not
Mhm.
going to the hospital." I
Right.
was like, "But I'm bleeding from everywhere."
Yeah. Right. Well, then get 2 Band-Aids.
Right.
Yeah.
Goodness. Let me see what other things I had in here. We've kind of mentioned like being sure, so trying yourself to foster a positive work environment. So communicating your boundaries clearly, also communicating your needs clearly. Like, I've done this before. There was a time when I took over a role that had never been done by nursing in my organization, and I was told by the person that was kind of giving me that role, "Hey, this is not a one person job." My leaders were like, "Oh, it'll be fine." Then I took it over. It was definitely not a one person job. And so I got into it and I was trying to do my best, and it just was not made for one person. And so I finally had to come to my breaking point and go to my boss and be like, "Look, we need another person in this role with me because there's no way that one person can do this." So maybe, and I was able to get a person. So I was able to get another full time employee to be my partner.
How long
So
did it
it's
take you to
worth,
speak up?
oh, a good 6, 8 months of struggling, maybe a year.
Oh my goodness.
I struggled till I couldn't struggle no more, and I was like, "I can't." Because I don't wanna ever do a bad job at something,
Mhm.
and I noticed that I could not do a good job because it
Yeah.
was not possible, and so I hated that, and that's what that's what triggered me. I'm like, "Other people are seeing my work. It's not great. I don't like this. I need help."
And they will sit back and watch you struggle. They
Oh,
force you
yeah, no
to
one was
they'll
gonna
force
offer
you
that up to me.
right, they'll force you to ask for help.
Mhm.
And they're like, "Well, you did it this long enough on your own. What makes you, you can handle it." That's
Right,
it.
and that's the thing. Don't do it too long for by
Mhm.
yourself because then they're gonna think that it's doable for one
Yeah.
person or whatever.
Yeah, they have this thing that they've been really Joint Commission really wants us to do our care plans. Like,
I hate care
they
plans.
really I mean, they take 2 seconds, fine. I also really don't think
It's just that they're pointless. I'm not doing
they're
anything from that care plan that I wouldn't have already done in my care.
yeah, and they are pointless. I don't know if anything's ever really been proved that it improves patient care whatsoever. So when we have more patients than we're supposed to, I'll, like, refuse to do my care plans. but we've been getting written up for not doing our care plans. Well, then staff us
Oh, wow.
appropriately. Yep. So then staff us appropriately. And so I just don't think that's fair. Like, you want to put more work on us. You expect us to do an A plus job regardless of how much extra we're thrown. And it's not fair.
Yeah. Uh, what else do you got on burnout?
I don't have much of anything else. I think that people need to just give yourself the grace and don't feel bad about taking the time to just step back and relax because you can't go on like that forever. You can't go on feeling like that forever. And if you're surrounded by, your home life, like your burnout at work, your burnout at home, being a parent, all these things, and you don't have any help, like sometimes maybe you just need to step back and your absence will allow them to appreciate you.
Hmm. And I don't think I really drove home. You can have all the good intentions in the world and just think you can just keep going and taking on. Your body will shut you down before
Mhm.
your mind will. So keep thinking that you can just do it all and your body's going to tell you when it's time to stop. So
Yes, it will.
it's it's important to recognize that before it becomes illness in the body.
Mhm. Yes.
All right, y'all. Well, we hope that you're not feeling burnt out, but if you are, we hope that we've given you some tools to use to kind of overcome that. If you haven't followed or subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you do that. Share us with a friend.
Check us out on YouTube.
Namaste.
Namaste.